I couldn't believe it at first. My electric bill had nearly doubled and I live alone. I don't throw big parties. I don't leave lights on all day. I don't even own a gaming PC or anything fancy like that. I just go to work, come home, cook and sleep. That's it. So where was all this extra power going? At first I thought maybe something was wrong with the meter. Or maybe one of my appliances was broken and quietly draining power. You know, like a fridge with a broken seal or an old water heater. But nope, everything checked out just fine. Still, the bill kept climbing month after month. It didn't make any sense, until one morning I noticed something strange. There was a long orange extension cord running across my yard. It led from my outdoor outlet, right to my neighbor Karen's driveway. And guess what was plugged into it? Her shiny new electric car. Yeah, that's when everything started to click. Now, if you've never dealt with a Karen before, lucky you. But let me tell you, this one's a piece of work. She's the self-appointed boss of our street. Always watching everyone's business, always filing little complaints with the HOA, and always acting like she owns the whole neighborhood. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she thought it was her own plug. Maybe she was desperate during a power outage or something. But no, this wasn't a one-time thing. It had been happening for weeks. She had been secretly stealing my electricity every night to charge her car, for free. And when I tried to confront her, that's when things got really interesting. I moved into this neighborhood about 3 years ago. It's quiet, clean, and honestly a nice place to live. Most of the neighbors keep to themselves, which I actually prefer. There's a homeowners association, but they mostly deal with trash pickups and lawn maintenance reminders. Nothing too serious. At least that's how it used to be. Then Karen moved in. She came in like a storm. Within the first week, she had already sent out an email to the whole block about noise levels and parking etiquette. She wasn't even on the HOA board yet, but you'd think she was running the entire place. She'd walk around with a clipboard, no joke, taking notes about people's lawns, porch decorations, and even what day they put out their bins. At first, I just stayed out of her way. She didn't bother me and I didn't give her a reason to. I kept my lawn tidy, paid my HOA dues on time, and didn't make noise. But she always gave off this weird energy. Like she was waiting for someone to mess up so she could pounce. Her house is right next to mine. The driveways are just a few feet apart. I'd sometimes hear her late at night, messing around outside, but I never really thought anything of it. I figured she was just one of those people who couldn't sit still. I never imagined she was sneaking over to my outlet while I was asleep. What makes it worse is how smug she always looked. Like she knew something no one else did. Always smiling that fake smile, waving at everyone like she was some kind of suburban queen. But behind all that, she was literally stealing from me and acting like it was no big deal. It all started with my electricity bill, but the more I paid attention, the stranger things got. I started noticing that Karen's electric car, this sleek silver SUV, was always fully charged. Every morning. Without fail. But I never once saw a charger installed on her property. No charging station. No visible outlet. Nothing. Just that car always parked close to my side of the property like it was hugging the edge of my yard. One night, I stayed up a little later than usual. I was watching a movie when I heard something outside, just a soft clicking sound like a plug being pushed into a socket. I peeked through the blinds. There it was. That same orange extension cord snaking across the grass. It was plugged into my outdoor outlet again. That's when the suspicion turned into certainty. The next morning I walked outside and traced the cord. It was warm. Still connected. Still feeding her car. I followed it right up to her driveway. No shame. Right there in broad daylight. I didn't say anything just yet. I wanted to be sure. I wanted to know how long this had been going on. So I started checking every night. And sure enough, like clockwork, sometime between 10 p.m. and midnight, the cord would appear again. She'd sneak it over quietly, plug it in, and leave it there until morning. I even found little drag marks in the dirt where she tried to cover the line with leaves. That's when I realized this wasn't just a quick emergency charge or some innocent mistake. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she was doing it over and over, hoping I wouldn't notice. But I did notice. And at that point, I knew something had to be done. The moment I saw that extension cord plugged into my house again, I walked straight over to Karen's place. I didn't knock right away, I took a photo first. I needed proof. Then I rang the doorbell. She opened the door with that same fake smile like nothing was wrong. I stayed calm and said, "Hey, I noticed your car's been plugged into my outlet. I'd appreciate it if you stopped using my electricity without asking." She blinked, then actually laughed. Not nervously. Like I had just told her a joke. "All that? "I thought you wouldn't mind," she said, waving her hand like it was nothing. "It's just a little juice, no big deal. Besides, it's not like it costs you much." I was stunned. She admitted it without hesitation. No apology. No embarrassment. Just pure entitlement. I told her again, more firmly this time, that she needed to stop. She rolled her eyes and mumbled something about how neighbors should support each other and not be so petty. I unplugged the cord myself and dropped it on her lawn. The next day it was back. That's when I contacted the HOA. I figured, okay, they have rules about stuff like this. Someone has to step in, right? But guess what? Karen was on the HOA board now. She joined just a couple months earlier and suddenly no one wanted to get involved. One board member even told me I should talk it out with her, as if I hadn't already tried that. It felt like I was trapped in some weird suburban nightmare. Karen was stealing from me, laughing about it, and getting away with it because of some small-time power she held. That's when I knew I had to play smarter. This wasn't just about electricity anymore. It was about principle. If the HOA wouldn't help, then I had to help myself. But I knew I had to be smart about it. Karen wasn't just bold, she was sneaky. And she clearly thought I wouldn't do anything. That was her mistake. First, I bought a small outdoor camera. Nothing fancy. Just something motion-activated that I could point at the outlet near my driveway. I tucked it behind a flower pot so it wouldn't be obvious. Every night I checked the footage. And sure enough, there she was. Usually after 11 p.m., walking over in her robe or hoodie, glancing around, then casually plugging her car in, like it was her own house. I saved every clip. Labeled them by date. She did it 5 nights in a row. Then I started writing everything down. Time, duration, even weather, anything that could help show a pattern. I wasn't going to let her gaslight me or twist the story. I wanted hard proof. The kind no one could ignore. But I also wanted to make her feel it. Not just stop. I wanted her to realize she couldn't just take whatever she wanted. So while I was collecting evidence, I also started researching. I looked into property laws. Checked with the utility company about theft of service. And most importantly, I dug into the HOA's own bylaws, the ones she loved to quote when someone's grass got too long. Turns out, tapping into a neighbor's utility without permission? Major violation. Grounds for fines. Grounds for removal from the board even. But I wasn't ready to strike just yet. I wanted the timing to be perfect. So I kept playing along. I said nothing. Let her think I had given up. Meanwhile, I was getting everything ready for the moment she'd never see coming. The night I set everything in motion, Karen had no idea what was coming. She walked over like always, looking around like she was just out for some fresh air. The orange cord appeared again, just like it had all those other nights. Plugged into my outlet. Feeding her car. Stealing my power. But this time I didn't unplug it. I let it sit there for hours. I wanted the evidence to be clear. Not just a quick charge, but a full session. Enough to show usage on my meter. Enough to match the camera footage. I even took a screenshot of my Smart Energy app showing the spike during those hours. The next morning I gathered it all. The video clips. The time logs. The energy data. And a printed copy of the HOA bylaws, with the relevant parts highlighted. I packaged everything neatly in a folder, made a few copies and dropped them off. One to the HOA board, one to the utility company's fraud department, and one just for fun, slid right under Karen's door. No words. Just the evidence. By the afternoon, things started moving fast. I didn't hear from Karen directly, but I noticed her car was parked farther away. No court. No sneaking around that night. The day after that, I got an email from the HOA. Suddenly, they were reviewing a serious complaint against one of their own members. An emergency meeting was scheduled. Karen didn't wave at me that week. She didn't even look in my direction. Something had shifted. And for once, I could feel it. She was the one feeling nervous. She had counted on me doing nothing. On me being too quiet, too polite. But she underestimated just how far I'd go to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. The HOA meeting was packed. Way more people than usual showed up. Word had started to spread around the neighborhood, and let's just say people were curious. I didn't say much during the meeting, just handed over my folder of evidence and let it speak for itself. The board members flipped through it in silence, watching the videos, reading the logs, and looking more uncomfortable by the minute. Karen sat there stiff as a board. Her usual smug expression was gone. She didn't interrupt. She didn't smile. She just stared straight ahead like she wished she could disappear. One of the board members, a guy who'd always seemed close to her, asked if she wanted to respond. She mumbled something about a misunderstanding and thinking it was a shared outlet, but no one looked convinced. Not with the footage. Not with the energy usage reports. And definitely not with the HOA rulebook sitting right there on the table. In the end, the board voted to suspend her from her position until further notice. She was also fined for unauthorized use of utility services and given a formal warning. But honestly, the punishment wasn't even the best part. It was the look on her face. The silence. The way her neighbors, people she used to boss around, looked at her now. No one nodded. No one backed her up. The queen of the cul-de-sac had lost her crown, and everyone saw it happen. After that day, her car never came near my side again. No more cords. No more fake smiles. She kept to herself. And for the first time since she moved in, the street actually felt peaceful. But I wasn't done just yet. Because sometimes the best way to end a problem is to make sure it never dares to come back. Things felt different after that meeting. The air around the neighborhood changed. People who used to avoid me suddenly waved when they passed by. A couple even stopped to say they were glad someone finally stood up to Karen. Turns out, I wasn't the only one she'd rubbed the wrong way. I was just the first to call her out with proof. Karen didn't say a word to me. Not then. Not after. Her car stayed parked on her own driveway from that point on, far from my outlet. No more cords. No more sneaky late-night visits. It was like she disappeared from the block altogether. She didn't show up at the next few HOA meetings either. A week later, a new notice was posted on the community bulletin board. Karen was no longer serving on the HOA board. Personal reasons, it said. But everyone knew the truth. She stepped down because her little scheme blew up in her face. And because no one wanted her making the rules anymore. The outlet she used to steal from? I replaced it with a locking cover. Just in case. Fool me once, right? I also noticed something else. She started keeping her blinds closed. No more waving from the porch. No more patrolling the block with her clipboard. Just silence. And to be honest, it was kind of nice. It wasn't about the money. Sure, the extra charges on my power bill were annoying, but I could afford it. What really got me was the disrespect. The entitlement. The way she acted like it was no big deal to steal from someone right next door. So when it all came crashing down on her, I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. And I don't think she'll be pulling that stunt ever again. I didn't set out looking for a fight. I just wanted to live in peace, pay my bills, and mind my business. But when someone starts taking advantage of you, right under your nose, it becomes a different story. It's not just about a few dollars of electricity. It's about the principle. The idea that someone thought they had the right to take from you because they assumed you wouldn't do anything about it. Karen learned the hard way that some people pay attention. That just because you're quiet doesn't mean you're weak. And just because you don't cause drama doesn't mean you won't stand your ground when it counts. Since all of this went down, I've started noticing little things more. Who's walking around late at night? What noises I hear after dark? I keep my cameras up, my outlets locked, and my boundaries clear. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I've seen how quickly people like Karen will push limits if you let them. And honestly, it feels good. Not in a petty way, just satisfying. Like I took back control of my space. My property. My peace of mind. Other neighbors started putting up cameras too. One even asked me where I bought mine. It's like people realized that if someone like Karen could get away with that once, they might try something else next time. She hasn't said a word to me since everything happened. No apology. No explanation. But I don't need one. I'm not looking for closure. I already got it the moment she unplugged that cord for the last time. Some people only understand boundaries when they hit a wall. I just made sure she ran straight into one she'll remember for a long, long time.